right, what's going on, everyone? AP over here, Run Pure Sports, bringing to you once again with the Lineup Builder Show with our partner SaberSim. We got Uncle T, we got Snyder, we got the usual crew in here. Uncle T, let's bring you in first. How was the golf outing last week? You guys do it every single year. I think you did pretty. You were texting me, hit it to like 2 inches or whatever. Had to be a pretty good week for you. What's going on, Uncle T?
Yeah, pretty good week. Good to be back on with you guys again this week. Another elevated event, or the last elevated event, I guess it will be of the year. We'll get to that in a little bit. Had a fun weekend out of town. The only drawback about us doing our golf trip at the same time every year, it's usually around the U.S. Open, to where I don't get to see as much live golf. Obviously, I'm on the course, so we didn't get to see as much Thursday, Friday, Saturday. A lot more of the coverage, from the phone kind of thing, in the cart. And then Sunday, got to watch the whole round on Sunday. But yeah, had a nice little I didn't win many matches down on the golf trip. I played pretty well, to be honest with you. I lost 2 matches on the 18th hole, and then I lost a match in extra holes, sudden death. So I kind of played pretty well, but my teams did not do well down there. But anyway, yeah, it's a really good time. And then, yeah, the PGA, I think, looking back, digesting a lot of it yesterday, again, being out of town, coming back, it feels like, I did really well in DFS, and then I had Bryson as an outright. So obviously it was a pretty good week for me. But if you look at like Snyder Soldiers and things that we talked about on the show, we had a lot of good calls. We did miss on a few things. Sung JM and Benny Am were 2 of my bigger misses, as far as my DFS teams. But a lot of the other calls we had were pretty solid. I wasn't as high on Rory either, so that obviously hurt a little bit. But, a lot of Bryson. We talked about Finau. We talked about Hideki, Russell Henley. So I think we got a lot of good things right last week. I hope a lot of the members, at least, came out on the plus side. I don't know how you guys did. I haven't talked to you since then. But, good week for me. And I always wonder why they put this elevated event right after the U.S. Open, why they couldn't wait maybe a week, then have the last elevated event. But here we are.
Yeah, first year of them doing this. And you can't say we, because I can't include myself into that. I had a terrible week. It was not good. But shout out to you guys, Snyder. The Soldiers were awesome. Absolutely crushed it. Uncle T, you crushed it. And shout out to Drew. Drew came in and he tried to tell us all that you had to prioritize distance, driving distance. He went off about it. Who was he on? He was on Rory. What does Rory do? Rory absolutely bombs it. And the other guy then too is Bryson, our guy Bryson. And hindsight's always 20/20, man. It really is. And it's so easy to talk now about what we could have done. And what went through my head, and again, I got pounded, but I had it was my favorite major year to date, and maybe over the last maybe 1 or 2 years, even though I did not have a good week. Was watching it by the pool, and man, it was just so exciting down the stretch. You had, Rory, Bryson going back and forth. Bryson kind of had the yips off the tee, and then all the and Rory was making everything until he went up by 2, and all the pressure was on. And so I thought it was just a fantastic event. But I wanted to shout out Drew just because, he had that really bold take. Now he is trolling a little bit with the green complexes, but his take was you really want to prioritize distance. And I wish I would have done that because that's what we really saw. In my opinion, yeah, it required good around the green game. I'm not going to say it didn't, but in my opinion, the guys that could bomb it absolutely rose to the top. Finau, Rory, Bryson. And the other thing too is just going back to the PGA Championship, when he waited around and congratulated Xander, and you could just see it. I wish I would have gone back and like rewatched that or thought about it, because, I would have been like, oh man, this dude is dialed. He's going to bring it and he's going to be there. And he was. It's US Open. And for some reason I ended up way under on Bryson, and man, that was painful. I ended up locking Scotty and Morikawa, and I felt really good about that. And obviously that was not the path to go. But Snyder, let's bring you in. Your Soldiers absolutely crushed. That's what helped me kind of get a little bit of my money back, which was nice. 3 of 3 Soldiers, 2 of them inside the top 10. What's going on, Snyder? How was your week?
It was all right. I was really good on the values. All my values crushed. Like you're saying, the two soldiers were T10 there. I called the Connors T10 on the segment video there. So that was good. I had a little bit on him, the top 10, but my studs like held me back from really elevating up in the standings there. It was really heavy on Scotty, really heavy on Morikawa. Morikawa played good Saturday to get himself back up there. And then I ended up going with Xander over Ludwig and Bryson. So it was so high on Scotty Xander, and then I had Brooks. I was about 2.5x the field on Brooks too, so couldn't really fit too much more in there. Hindsight, it's always hindsight. Probably should have looked at Bryson more with the way he was playing in the majors, the two majors before that. He was absolutely dialed in. I do like Bryson a lot more than I did last year. I love how he's staying after, signing autographs to the kids. He's out there chugging wine out.
Uncle T. Who would have thought? Not me, man. Not me. Who would have thought? Not me.
Nothing is making me happier in general than to see Snyder come around.
Oh, Snyder. How the turns have tabled, right, Snyder? How the turns have tabled.
Glow balls at night, hammered, and
how about that, hey guys? How about that segment? I'm sure everybody saw it. That segment afterwards in the twilight with Johnson Wack. I mean, that stuff is. Yeah. I mean, you can kind of look back or look past it and say, oh yeah. I just think he's totally engaging, obviously, with the fans. Even like the YouTube stuff. And then, Drew tweeted out, I think earlier today, 11.4 million on Sunday as far as viewership. It's the highest rated in like 10 years. So, again, I'm not saying it's all Bryson. Clearly, Rory being up there, on Sunday and having them two battle, I think was great for viewership. But, just a good U.S. Open.
Yeah, no, I agree. And without Liv, do we even get this version of Bryson? Like, what did Liv bring? It allowed him, freed up time, allowed him to build up his YouTube channel. Yeah, he already had a YouTube channel, but I wasn't really following it until he started doing content with other people. And so it is really, really interesting. And now when I think about it, I wish we could see this guy more often. Once every other week would be really nice. So hopefully they figure out something just because some of these guys would be nice to have them back on the PGA Tour, especially Bryson too. So we could talk about that, forever, guys. We do have an event to get to. We got the Travels Championship. We got a Pete Dye track here. It's in Cromwell, right? Connecticut. Snyder, let's bring you in. Talk to us about the course this week. Pete Dye track. Keegan Bradley, the winner last year. His putter was absolutely dialed. Give us a course breakdown this week, Snyder.
Yeah, we're here in Connecticut this week at another Dye track. A couple renovations have taken place at this track over the years. TPC River Highlands is going to be a par 70 that measures just over 6,800 yards. It's going to play as one of the shortest tracks on tour each and every year. The second shot track here has yielded success to both bombers and plotters off the tee. So I think it's anybody can win here. The fairways here are right around 30 yards wide on average, but they do become much more narrow right around that 300-yard mark. So it gets tougher to hit these the further you want to hit it off the tee. They've made some changes here to the property as well last year. Mainly, it's going to affect off the tee play here. They did some work on around 6 holes here, mainly tightening the fairways off the tee. And then golfers are going to see water in play on 5 holes. These smaller bent grass greens here are going to measure at 5,000 square feet on average. They'll be rolling at around 12 on the step meter as well. If you want to be in contention here on Sunday, like you said, you're going to have a hot putter. You're going to have to make a lot of birdies here this week. I think the winning score will probably be around 20 under par again. This no-cut event will give everybody a guaranteed 4 rounds of play as well. And the majority of the iron shots this week will be coming from 125 to 175 yards, proximity range there. And some other key stats we'll be looking at this week: strokes gained approach, birdies are better percentage, opportunities gained, total driving with an emphasis on accuracy, and then putting.
Yeah, very good. And I didn't catch the yardage that you mentioned there, Snyder, but what I was going to add is the exact opposite of last week. I mean, we're going to see approach play from, 100 to 125, 125 to 150, 150 to 175 versus what? I mean, those guys, some of those par fours last week were absolutely insane. 540-yard par four. There's 3 or 4 500-plus yard par fours. Absolutely ridiculous. We're not going to get that this week at all. And just to add on to what Snyder said, I mean, going back to last year, Zach Blair, T2, Brian Harmon. We love Brian Harmon, T2. Ches Reavie, T4. So distance may not matter. Denny McCarthy, T7. Distance may not matter as much. So something to keep in mind. And Snyder, like, I want your guys' thoughts on this, and then we're going to dive in. We're going to go through our process in SaberSim. But, man, this has been a really pretty brutal stretch. Just going back 2 weeks ago, and then you got the obviously the U.S. Open last week. 2 brutal tracks. How was that factoring in to your decision making when you're factoring in golfers this week, especially considering a guy like Scotty? Rory obviously is not in the field with Drew. Uncle T, is that in the back of your mind at all, or Scotty is just Scotty, Xander is Xander, Ludd, all these guys, they are what they are, and they'll be fine? I mean, are you thinking about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think a few things. The way I've kind of looked at it yesterday and today, kind of looking at the, looking at obviously the easier course from a scoring standpoint. Obviously, we're going to see a lot more birdies this week than we have the last couple of weeks. Rory withdrawing is going to be a thing. I wish he kind of would have stayed in the field, to be honest, because I was ready to fade. But no, it's not going to really affect me much at all. I know, as we talked about it numerous times this year, with the shorter field, the no cut, I'm not a big fan of. I think it's just different to make lineups. It's harder to differentiate yourself. You don't have to worry about getting 6 of 6 through. All that stuff is not a fan of mine, but it allows us probably to, again, no 5K guys, but the way I'm kind of looking, and we'll get through all the tiers here in a little bit, but I kind of like the kind of stuff. Usually I gravitate towards the stars and scrubs builds when it comes to this, but I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at right now heading into the show, and I'll see if you guys can kind of change my mind, maybe be a little more balanced. But right now I kind of like the top part and then kind of going down the bottom end.
Yeah, let's dive in. Let's dive in, and Snyder, you can kind of comment as we talk about the top tier, because we obviously have Morikawa, Xander, Scotty. All 3 of them, I believe, played the last 2 events. So it'll be interesting. But this week we're changing it up just a little bit. We're going to use – so what we've done in the past is we've basically lined every golfer up to have the same value number. And, we've basically just created a very baseline type of approach, a very macro level view, trying to identify what roster construction is going to look like. We're going to take it a step further this week. We're going to go through the same process like we typically do. We're going to use SaberSim's projections. Their projections are unique because they are simulating hole by hole for every single golfer out there, and they're creating a range of outcomes, a projection range of outcomes, and you can see that. It's a really, really cool thing with SaberSim. Once it loads here, you can see their kind of distribution range of outcomes here. And I think it's really unique. It's really neat. If you're new to PGA DFS, or let's just say you're like my mom, she loves playing. She absolutely loves playing. Doesn't necessarily know the golfers maybe inside and out, week to week. She just likes to have some action in play. And she can use SaberSim, or you can use SaberSim, and you can play around it. You can click on some of these players, and you can see a nice potential range of outcomes. So something that SaberSim does very, very well. We are going to use their projections. We're going to bump them up. We're going to bump them down like we do each and every week. We're going to run our builds, and we're going to see what it looks like. So, Snyder, let's start with you this week. Top tier range. Let's just go those 3. 10K and up, Ludwig, all the way up to Scotty Scheffler. What are you doing with this range this week?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to some Scotty this week. Looking back at it, flop leg spot here as well. Looking back at it, how it kind of how his tournament kind of came to fruition there for him. A lot of the players were forced to hit into the middle of the greens. He really wasn't able to just flag hunt like he has been throughout the year. So he was forced to kind of hit to the middle of the green, and the putter kind of let him down there. He lost a lot of strokes putting last week. He wasn't able to get much to drop. I think that had a lot to do with him not being able to fire at pins last week. So I think we could see a pretty good bounce back spot for Scotty here. I think he'll be right back in contention. Last year he was T5 or T4 here inside the top 5 of this event. I look for Scotty to bounce back big here this week. He hates losing, especially hates finishing outside the top 40 at bet. He was definitely frustrated last week with him not being able to execute some of those iron shots that he has been in the previous. So I'm going to go back to Scotty. I'm not sure how much I'll get of him depending on where kind of the ownership shakes out. I think it should be relatively close up here. I think they'll be within maybe 5 to 10%, all of them. So I think it's going to kind of pool up there. I think Scotty will definitely be the highest, probably at around 30 to 35%. But I think Xander will be close to 30% potentially this week as well. Another great option here. He won this event a couple years ago, has been playing some elite golf. He really struggled. Xander did the first couple days. He just couldn't really get much going there. He was really scrambling, really just trying to grind out par basically there. He played better on Sunday. So I think Xander's another great option there. I do like Ludwig, probably the best in this range. So I really like the discount you get from Scotty and Xander. He plays like a machine out there. The putter went cold on him on Sunday, but he did gain over 4 strokes putting for the week. He's a great wedge player. He's third in 150 to 175, that proximity range. He ranks third in that. I think he'll still be able to kind of bomb it off the tee here too and have some shorter shots into these greens, have some wedges in his hand, plenty this week. So I think Ludwig's a great option this week. He's second to Scotty off the tee in this field over the last 36 rounds, and he finished inside the top 25 here last year. This was his debut event last year, and he finished top 25 last year. So I think Ludwig's my favorite, probably then Scotty and then Xander.
All right, very good. I mean, it's hard to Ludwig is just absolutely a machine. I mean, beautiful golf swing, very repeatable, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, except for that round with Bryson, which was surprising. Like, who knows what was going on, but he looked off of his game. And you got to just credit that to the pressures of a U.S. Open. So I'm with you on Ludwig as well. I'm not as sold on Scotty. So I'm really curious to see what Uncle T has to say, because you have a baby. You're grinding out these tough events. And again, I locked Scotty last week. Okay, I watched him very closely. He just looks so frustrated, and he looked tired. He looks like he needs a week off, and so I am a little bit concerned there. But Uncle T, what are you doing with this top range this week?
Yeah, Scotty definitely probably could have used what I said earlier, maybe a week in between the U.S. Open and this last elevated event. You can better believe he would have taken this week off. But I'm not as big on that kind of narrative, AP, as far as obviously the baby and all that. But I don't know. These guys are kind of like robots in a way where, yeah, they're, the new baby at home and this and that. But I think he's a grind. He can't wait to get out there. And obviously, like Snyder said, he's probably stewing a little bit from finishing T41 last week. At this point right now, and again, we got a day and a half here to kind of digest and see where we're going to land tomorrow night and building our teams. But I'm probably going to just take the easy way out, maybe go about even with the field on Scotty this week. Again, I mentioned earlier, I was hoping Rory stayed in the field because he was going to be my fade up here. And now, and I was going to play these other 3 guys, and Snyder brought up a lot of good points on these other guys, but looking at Scotty again. All right, now he's human, right? Now, he finally had that one bad week. I just don't think he's going to have back-to-back bad weeks. So I do like Scotty, probably going to be maybe even with the field with him, at least as of now. Xander, look, won the PGA, took a couple weeks off, and then, he showed no signs of having any hangover from winning that first major. T8 and T7 since. Won it here in 22, like you mentioned. It's just hard not to have a little bit of Xander. And if you look at the odds too, the last several events that Scotty's played in, he's been anywhere from 2.5 to 4.5 to 1 in that range. And the next closest guy has been 10 or 11 and even 12 in one of those other events. I can't remember, a couple weeks ago. Xander's 7.5. So Xander's kind of trying to close the gap, at least from a Vegas standpoint, and it's deserved. I mean, he's $1,300 cheaper. I'm definitely going to play some Xander this week. And Ludwig, I was very upset because I actually had I took the cop play out on that last week as well, guys. I took Ludwig as a outright last week, and I faded him in DFS because I just wanted – he's one of those guys we've talked about it. I do think his game is really good anywhere. He really is. He can play on the short tracks. He can play on long tracks, the tough tracks. He can make birdies. He led after 36 holes last week, and then obviously he faded a little bit on the weekend, 73-73, but – you mentioned this is his 1 year anniversary of, kind of being on tour. He's up to number 4 in the world. It's just crazy how quick this guy has kind of elevated his game into one of the top 5 players in the world. So I'm going to play all 3 of these guys. I really am. I like Scotty probably at the field. And then I probably like Xander a little bit more than Aubert. So I'll probably rank mine Xander, Aubert, and then Scotty in that order. But I'm going to play all 3 of these guys.
All right, very good. Let's get down to the 9K range. If you haven't yet, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. We appreciate it. Helps us out a lot over here at Rump Here Sports, bringing to you the show free each and every week. Uncle T, I'm going to keep it with you in this 9K range first, then we'll go over to Snyder. We got Sam Burns. Awesome finish from Sam Burns. I thought he looked really good on Sunday there. So a little bit of positive momentum coming into this event. And then Colin Morikawa, he had that round 3 that looked awesome. And then he faded, obviously. Very, very hurtful for our guy, Johnny, JSU. He locked Bryson and Colin Morikawa. All 150 lineups. This dude ran his really tight pool, and he had Colin Morikawa and Bryson locked. So shout out to him. I love that. I appreciate it. Takes some balls to do that. It definitely does. When it hits, and it hits hard. And your returns are very, very nice, but needed a little bit more there from Colin Morikawa. Uncle T, 9K range, what are you doing here?
Yeah, it's a range this week, the 9K range. I like a couple guys, and I'll talk about them, but it's not really my favorite range this week looking at it here on this Tuesday night. I mean, Morikawa, obviously he's playing really, really good. T14 is one of his worst finishes, and it's obviously as a compliment, worst finishes he's had in a while. T16 a few weeks back prior, but a lot of good finishes. He didn't quite get up in the hunt to where he can contend on Sunday last week. But, yeah, he's still a good play. 9,800 doesn't have the best results here, so I'm a little concerned with that. So not sure what I'm going to do with him. It could be a fade on Morikawa this week. The one that I think you guys will probably make fun of me a little bit, and that's okay. I think I might go ahead and buy back in on Cantlay. I've been waiting, similar to JT, similar to Spieth in some scenarios on these shows. I want to find. Hey,
real quick. I mean, where does this guy get his pants from? Sears, J.C. Penney's. It is so brutal watching this guy play. He needs some tailored pants. Get out there, actually go buy some real clothes. It's insane.
Yeah.
Keep going, though, Uncle T.
I wanted to find a little form. I wanted to find an area where I could maybe piggyback a big finish or going back to a course where he plays well. And I get both this week. Obviously, he played every bit as good on Sunday as Rory and Bryson, just didn't make enough putts. Obviously finished, T3. And he comes to a course where he's played really, really well. So this one might come back to bite me. If it does, that's okay. But I think I'm going to kind of get back in a little bit here on Patrick Cantlay. So, again, he's got the elite history here. I'm going to buy back in on him. Victor Hovland, I'm going to take a fade approach on Vic this week. Miscut last week. Shot a 78 on Thursday and really shot himself out of the golf tournament. I think he shot either a 68 or 69 on Friday, just couldn't get enough, obviously, going to make the cut after that 78. But I'll probably fade Victor Hovland. One of my favorite players or favorite plays on the slate is going to be Hideki Matsuyama. 22-1, 9,200. He'll probably be around 15%. Look, this guy, if you go back over the whole year, I mean, this guy, when he hasn't had the back issues, this guy is crushed for us week after week after week. And stay tuned later in the show. He could be a guy that I look at as an outright, but I really like Hideki. T13 here last year, and again, coming off a T8 at the Memorial and a solo 6 last week. There's just nothing not to like about Hideki, and you can make the argument he could be $300, $400, $500 more expensive at the level of golf he's been playing. So I like Hideki quite a bit. And then I got a couple fades here at the bottom. I'm going to be out on Fleetwood. And I like the points you made, AP, about at Sam Burns. And I like Sam Burns. He played really well for us last week as a real cheap value. But I don't know if it warranted, the big price bump here in a similar field as far as talent up at the top in the elevated event. I don't know if it warrants getting that big of a price bump. And he putted extremely well last week. So I do like Burns in general. I don't necessarily like Burns this week.
I mean, man, four of 5 cuts made, T13, T10, T15, T9.
Well, it's a price point thing for me, though.
I know.
I don't want to pay $9K for him.
All right. You sold me. I'm bumping him down. I'm dumping him down just because I respect you, Uncle T. I bumped him down. See, he's red. He's red. Maybe Snyder can bring him back into the green. To be determined. But no, I respect that, Uncle T, and I get it. The price is way up relative to what we've seen from him as far as like pricing goes, and so I can always respect that angle and that standpoint. Snyder, 9K range. What are you doing with this range?
Yeah, I do agree with Uncle T there on Hideki. I really like Hideki this week. Back-to-back top 10s. The putter is starting to heat up as well. He gained over 3 strokes putting last week. He gained at the Memorial, gained 2 strokes putting at the PGA Championship as well. He's been doing it good with the approach too. At least 3.5 strokes gained approach the last 2 events. I think Hideki is a great option this week. He went on that little bit of a run early in the year. He won the Genesis, had some high finishes there. He was T6 the Players as well. It looks like he's kind of going on another run here with great finishes at the Memorial in the U.S. Open last week. So definitely in on Hideki. My guy, Morikawa, definitely. I always play Morikawa, so I'm going to be on him. Playing just elite golf right now. He has struggled with the putter here in the last 2 cuts he's had here, but the putter is much, much better right now. He's doing it tee to green. The putter's there. So I still like Morikawa there. And then I'm going to disagree with Uncle T then on Sammy Burns. So I do like Sammy Burns this week. It looks like he's kind of rounding back into form. It's all due to the putter. The putter is finally starting to heat up for him too. He kind of struggled with the putter midway through the season. At the start of the year, he was pretty good there. T6, T10, T3, T10. And then the putter kind of cooled off on him. But the putter seems to be back the last 3 events. Gained over 7 strokes putting last week. Gained at Memorial, gained at the RBC Canadian Open. And like early in the year, we saw him he kind of put together 3 to 4 really good putting events in a row. So I think he's kind of piggybacking that. The approach play was better.
Snyder, what are the greens here again? Remind me. My memory is terrible.
Bent grass greens, slightly. They have a little bit of POA mixed in, but they're mainly bent grass greens here.
We think Sam Burns can get it done on bent grass?
Yeah, he did at the Memorial. He was T15 at the Memorial, where he lost 3 strokes approach there, too, at the Memorial and still finished T15. The approach game was better last week. Tee green was good for him. Gained over 11 strokes total last week. So I think Sammy Burns is a good option. And I know he's priced up there at 9K, which I think that's going to kind of keep his ownership, under 15%. So I definitely like that as well with Sammy Burns.
My man was 7,200 last week. Like he has been.
Uncle T, you do have a good point there,
I agree. The thing is, I like both sides of the argument though, because like Snyder's, I love Sammy Burns. I played a lot of them last week. I just can't get over $1,800 price increase.
You know what he was priced at the Memorial?
What's that?
Do you know what he was priced at for the Memorial?
8,300.
Yeah. So he's been priced up there before.
I mean,
you
guys should be hosting. I have no idea. I would have failed on both of those questions.
he was 9K at the Players Championship too. So he was 9,200 at the Players Championship. So we're getting a slight decrease from the Players Championship price though. But I think he's fine for tournaments. So I really like him. He's going to be that low owned. I really like his upside here.
I think what we do, just being the tiebreaker, I bumped him up. We're green on Burns. Just being the tiebreaker, Hideki, we got him from a value standpoint, just looking at the value number, kind of the highest in this range. I thought it would be Cantlay. I was really close between those 2, but I think, tell me if you guys agree with this, from a value perspective, factoring in price, Hideki, Cantlay, Burns. I know Uncle T's not going to agree with that. And Snyder, you might not either because you're pretty high on Colin Morikawa.
I'd take Morikawa over Cantlay.
You got Kawa over Cantlay. I have Cantlay over Morikawa. It's not Uncle T. You have Cantlay over Morikawa also, right?
Yeah, but slightly. I just don't have Burns in there. But again, you guys make arguments. Again, I usually don't take both sides, but I get your all's argument on Burns. It's just not going to be for me this week. I don't think.
I like 100%. It. All right. I think this. I mean, they're close. We'll hammer it out. What we're going to do is we're pumping up sim diversity this week, so it might not matter. But Snyder, kick us off in the 8K range. Let's get down here. We have Matt Fitzpatrick. Oh my gosh, Matt Fitz. I mean that round was terrible. Like he had a absolutely brutal weekend, all the way up to Tony Finau, who quietly is playing some awesome golf. I don't get this guy when have you guys seen his stance? I know you guys have, but it looks like he's hitting with kid clubs. Yeah. I mean, he's down there bending the knees. It's insane. I don't know how he even hits the ball. It's absolutely insane, but he's playing some awesome golf right now. Snyder, what are you doing with this 8K range?
Yeah, the guys that jump out to me the most is probably going to be Big Russ Henley. I'm just going to keep playing him. I've been playing him consistently all year. He's got good course history here, a couple of top 20s the last two events. I just got to keep going to him. I think he's just playing too consistent right now. Everything's kind of clicking. He can find the fairways at a high clip off the tee. He's got the putter rolling for him too recently. So I think Henley's a guy that can get hot here, make a lot of birdies. Brian Harmon's another guy I really like, kind of towards the bottom of this range, 8,300. He's playing some really strong golf right now. Great course history here as well. T2, T8, T5, the last three trips here for Harmon. So I really like him. He's going to find the fairway to high clip off the tee. He's going to do his thing there. He's really good putting too as well. He can get hot putter there. He's top 15 in this field in putting. So I like Harmon. And then I'm gonna go to your boy JT. I haven't played him much this year, if any, but I think this is the time.
I shouldn't be fist pumping, to be honest. I definitely shouldn't. But I welcome you. I welcome you on to what has been a very painful ride with Justin Thomas. But the more the merrier. Snyder, keep going.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a little slightly comp to Harbor Town, where he was top 5 there. I mean, he's getting 4 rounds guaranteed here. He's got the upside to just go absolutely nuclear at times. We played him in Showdown a couple of times earlier this year as well. So I think this is just a really good spot. If you're playing the zigzag approach with JT, I think this is another spot where he's just kind of been up, down, up, down, up, down. T10 here last year as well. So I like the landing spot here for JT. So those are my main guys. Not sure if I'm going to get back to Connors or not at 8,400. He's really not. He got a price bump. I know Henley got an even bigger price bump. I mean, Henley was under 7K last week. I just couldn't believe the price decrease he got last week. Connors was 7,200 last week. It's a little price bump as well. But I think, Keegan's a really good upside guy here. He won this event last year. He's got super high birdie upside as well. I'm not sure what to do with the Gala yet. But Henley, Harmon, and JT are probably my top 3 in this range. I don't mind Tom Kim. I just don't know if he's got the birdie upside to really do much here. I'd rather play Harmon over Kim, I think.
When we're talking about the zigzag theory and approach being kind of a main, thesis behind playing a golfer, I mean, that is the full definition of confirmation bias, something that I am very familiar with, especially when it comes to our painful friend, Justin Thomas. I unfortunately also like him this week. Surprise, surprise. I know. Actually, to everyone's surprise, I've been off of him for a while. I am getting back on this week. He played well here last year. His form coming into this event was as bad as it could ever be last year. And it just came down to his putting, which has been terrible also. But 8,500 low ownership, projected low ownership. I'm definitely going to have a few shares. Uncle T, what are you doing in the 8K range this week?
Yeah, Pretty good range. Similar thoughts that Snyder had. Let me get to my fades first and get them out of the way. At the top, I'm going to fade Thigala. Haven't played him a whole lot recently. Didn't play him last week. T32, he was fine. He did finish T2 here a couple years ago, but I just don't think I'm going to get to Thigala. My guy Jordan Spieth, haven't been on him in 6-7 weeks. It's going to be another week. Just can't play Jordan right now at all. No form, no direction. Seems like he's kind of lost out there. He's just playing golf like just a regular Saturday, round with us three guys. It just doesn't seem like he's got a whole lot of direction, not a lot of motivation right now, which is crazy. But can't play him. And then Fitzpatrick really let me down last week. I had quite a bit. If it wasn't for Fitzpatrick, I was double the field, I think, at the end of the day on Fitzy. And he did make the cut, but just didn't really get it done like I thought he would. So he was the one really looking back, even more so than Scotty last week, that really hurt me. So those will be my fades. Going back up to Finau, I ended up getting on a little bit more of Finau after the show last week. I bumped my ownership up on him, and it really paid off. 4 straight top 20s, including the T3 last week, obviously T8 at the Memorial. He's gotten a little better here the last couple times he played. He had a couple miscuts and a T13, then T45 last year, but I think this is a decent course fit for him. Love the Henley call again. Nothing much more to say about Russell Henley. He did get the price bump, but 8,600 is still fair. He's 25-1. I think he's got the lowest odds of anyone, at least on DK Sportsbook. He's got the lowest odds out of anybody in the 8K range. So that tells me Vegas still likes him. So I like him. Make it 3 for 3 on JT, AP. Make it 3 for 3 on JT. I'm not real high. I'm not like like an all-in play on JT by any means. But when he was playing poorly there about 2 months ago, I got back on him. I think it was at the RBC Heritage, maybe, or one of them. Played him through the PGA Championship at Valhalla, obviously his home track. And then I've been off of him the last 2 weeks. So I've had kind of a good run with JT as far as playing him and not playing him. I do think this course sets up okay for JT. So I'm going to buy back in on JT this week. Two of my favorite guys here in this range are Connors and Harmon. I mean, Connors, I know, Snyder, you didn't think maybe he can make enough punts here. I mean, he's just been cruising, though. 18 of 18 cuts this year. Elite ball striker. T9 here last year. And, hey, if there's ever a tiebreaker where you got to go with Harmon, he can just strike the ball, though. It is a matter of whether he can get hot with the putter. But when he does, he's going to pop and be able to contend on Sunday. And he's going through a good stretch of golf here, obviously. So I like him. And then Brian Harmon, I haven't played him quite a bit. But, the little guy, little guy's got really good course history here. 8,300, 40-1 to win the tournament. I mean, T21 last week at Pinehurst, he grinded through a T21, which is a solid finish for him last week. So I'll be in on him, and I'm out on actually Tom Kim as well. Snyder, you brought up some good points. I don't know that he can make maybe as many putts. We played him a little bit recently, but I'll be out on Spieth, Kim, and Fitzpatrick at this point.
Do we think so just to echo you guys' point, I mean, Corey Connors, absolutely love him. Henley, love him. Spieth, the only thing with Spieth is back in 2017. Remember that playoff where he chipped in? I remember winning some coin back then. But since then, he's pretty much done nothing here. But that was definitely a really exciting.
I was a lot less fat back in 2017 too.
I was too. Less fat, less stressed out. I mean, yeah. You get it, Uncle T.
It's hard when you guys know, looking back at every show, it's been at least 2 months since I've played my guy Speed. So I'm definitely haven't been, stroking him.
It's tough to play him though, but could Justin Thomas, I saw our guy, Andy, he posted his initial rundown for ownership in the Discord, and I'm looking here at SaberSim. Now SaberSim, this is, a lot of this is, based off of their sims, and it gets adjusted up until lock. And we're only on Tuesday, so keep in mind it is Tuesday. But I could just see Justin Thomas getting steamed up a little bit, and that's the one thing that makes me nervous. I'm not an expert when it comes to ownership at all. But Snyder, is that something that you could see happening, or JT sucks and no one's going to play?
I could see him kind of getting, potentially around 15%, 15 to 18 or something like that. I don't think he's going to become like really popular to where he's 20+% owned, but I think he'll be relatively owned a little bit though.
And the only reason I bring that up is there's nothing worse than playing like a 22% owned Justin Thomas. Now, I don't think 22% is kind of in the realm of outcomes, but I'm just telling you, as a JT guy, whenever he's like over 20%, it never works out. I'm just telling you, it never, ever works out. And so that would be one thing. If he got steamed up, that would make me very nervous, and I would just get off of him, and I would feel very good about it. But if he is going to be sub 10%, I have interest, if that makes sense. But I think we're all pretty aligned here, and you can see JT is not our highest value, if you want to call it that, in this range. It is Brian Harman, followed by a tie between Connors and Henley, and I really like how that sets up. I think it matches what we all feel in this range very well. So let's keep it going, Snyder. We're going right back to you this time. The 7K range. I'm not gonna bring this whole range into the player pool. As you guys talk about the golfers that you're on, I'm going to bring them back into the player pool. Then we'll bump them up, bump them down. So Snyder, what are you doing with this range?
Yeah, I think my favorite play in this range is going to be Akshay. I really like him this week. He won the Texas Open a while back, then kind of cooled off, but it looks like he's kind of heating back up here. He's bettered his finish in the last 3 events, T22 at Memorial, T16 last week at the U.S. Open. So I like him quite a bit this week. I think he's got strong upside. My guy Bez, I'm going to keep playing him. I mean, Bez is strong, so he's been putting. The dude can make a lot of putts. That's going to be needed here. The off-the-tee game for him is kind of up and down, but I think he can kind of club down here, and his short game is just phenomenal. So I like Bezaden Hoot for the short game there. I think Harris English is interesting this week. He's a former winner at this event. He's really been struggling kind of around the green, and the irons really haven't been there for him, but this is just a spot where I don't think he'll get too much ownership, and you can kind of buy in on him at a pretty cheap price tag here. So I think English will probably be somewhere, 12 to 15% owned potentially, maybe even lower than 15. I think it's a strong spot for him at 7,100 for the upside that he brings. I like those two. Some other guys I'll be looking at. I think Taylor Pendrith is playing phenomenal golf recently. I'm going to keep playing Taylor Pendrith. I was overweight on him last week. Another strong finish for him. He was T22 at the Memorial, and then last week at the U.S. Open, he finished as T20. So I like Taylor Pendrith quite a bit as well. I think I'm going to get off of JT Poston. I think some people are going to play him. I've heard his name brought up a few times. I think I'm going to be off of him, though. His finishing placements have kind of worsened the last couple of events. I know they've been tougher events, but I think I'm going to be off Poston this week. He's the guy I could see getting some ownership, kind of getting steamed up, but we'll see how that goes. I like the upside of Siwoo Kim. I like Siwoo on die tracks, so I'll always have some sprinkle of Siwoo. He was up and down last week, ends up finishing T32 after the strong performance at the Memorial where he finished T15. I don't think I can get to Cameron Young. I know he had that one good round, I think, last week, but definitely not playing Cameron Young.
I literally can't believe you haven't brought one guy's name up. I thought you'd be all over. I'm kind of disappointed.
13 of them, so.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, look at Wyndham Clark down here. Like the guy that.
I mean, just for the price point and the upside.
No, I wasn't saying play Wyndham.
Oh no,
you're playing Wyndham Clark. Dude's terrible.
He's not been playing good, but just for the upside, I mean, 7,700. I mean, he's probably going to be like 5% owned or something.
I can't bring him in. Nope.
Yeah.
If you're in a meeting, I think
he's taking Bryson's spot at the Olympics.
Wyndham could be the Cantley play from last week, though. Is all I'm saying.
I'll wait a week.
Yeah, nope. I'm vetoing this, Snyder. No Wyndham Clark. We're not bringing him in the pool.
Definitely not.
Denny McCarthy. How are you not playing Denny McCarthy down here, Snyder?
No, you didn't give me a chance to talk. I was my favorite guy.
Yeah, he's fine. Yeah, he's been playing some pretty decent golf.
Were you on? Like you've been on him, like decent golf. You've been on him during this stretch, man. That's like your guy, isn't it?
I've been playing a decent amount. I mean, T25, T39, T32, the last 3 events, solid.
Uncle T's like, shut up. He's like, I want to talk about him.
I think Seb Straka's got good birdie upside as well for 7,900.
I don't like Sep here. And I'm a Sep guy, man.
Yeah,
I don't like him at this track.
Doesn't have the best course history here. He can get hot. I mean, the putter's been boom or bust for him. I mean, the around the green game and putter, it's kind of up and down for him. But he did make a hole in one last week.
I mean, I would go to you, Uncle T, but it looks like you're like fading into the abyss or something, or into a cloud. I mean,
everybody keeps talking about. I've got a gray background, so I don't know. It's the same every week, so I'm not sure.
It looks different this week. It definitely looks different. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Uncle T has the winners going. All is good. All right, Uncle T, 7K range. Let's start with your boy Denny. What are you doing with this range?
I'm not sure where to start. Like Seb Straka, I like Seb Straka.
All right.
AP doesn't like him. I'm upset. Like,
no, I'm bringing him in.
How do you not like Seb Straka? Like he's 35-1. He is a little bit priced up from relative to some of these guys below a few $100. He only had one bad round last week. He carded a 78 on round 3, maybe I think. That really hurt him, or else he would have finished much, much higher. And I'm gonna not bang a guy for one bad round at the U.S. Open 78. He made the cut, finished T56 because of that bad round. But no, I like Seb Straka here quite a bit. 35-1, 7,900. Give me some Seb Straka. And then a couple guys. So I put Homa, Max Homa. I don't think he mentioned Max Homa. I don't like Homa either this week. And it's the same reason I don't like Wyndham Clark. I mean, you got two guys. They've got horrible history here for one, or at least, Max has got really bad history, and Wyndham doesn't have the very best history either, and they're not playing great. So what are you buying back in on? Just the upside? I guess I could buy that, or maybe a showdown scenario, but I think Homa and Wyndham Clark you can put in the same bucket, at least for me, and it's probably going to be a fade for sure. So I don't like either one of them. Out on Shane Lowry, out on Adam Scott. Benny On hurt our feelings last week, 7,600. I could see him playing good this week, so I don't know what I want to do with him. It is a nice flop leg situation for Benny On, but he don't have the best course history either. So I'm targeting the middle part of this range. Siwoo Kim, you mentioned Snyder. Like him quite a bit. I know, again, he doesn't have the best history here. He does have a T11 a couple years ago, but solid T32 last week, 16 of 17 cuts made on the season. He's had a great year. 6,800 he was last week. 7,500 this week is still very fair for Siwoo Kim. I like him quite a bit. 40-1 in Vegas as well. Denny McCarthy is one of my favorite guys. I'll get to the other guy that Snyder did mention in a minute. I got three guys I like quite a bit. Denny's one of them. He didn't have the best history here and then finished T7 last year, and he's arguably played his best year on tour this year. So T32 last week, T6 at another tough track at Quail Hollow a few years ago. Obviously, we know he's a good putter. So I like Denny McPutts here quite a bit. And then going down, I got a little bit of interest in JT Poston. I got him. He's not one of my favorite guys in this range, but this is a course I do think might set up well for him. Nice price tag here coming off at T32 last week. Finished runner-up here a couple years ago. I do like Poston. But one of my favorite guys that Snyder and I do agree on, I think it was the first guy he mentioned, was Akshay Bhatia. Like this guy quite a bit this week. T16 last week was his best finish since the Valero, but he did also have a T22 at the Memorial. 7,200 feels really, really cheap here on Akshay. 70-1 to win the golf tournament, so I like him quite a bit. And then two other guys at the bottom, and I don't know if any of us are going to mention Zalatoris, so I'll just do it. I'm not in on Zalatoris. I have no idea what's going on with his game, but if you would have told me 2 months ago, or even a month ago, that Zalatoris would be 7,100 in any kind of field, much this is an elevated field, but 71, it's just crazy how far he's kind of fallen with his game. But Thomas Dietrich, I wish I would have been more on Dietrich. I talked to him with Big T a little bit, driving down to the golf trip. I talked about him a little bit and then really wasn't on him as much as I kind of wanted. And it kind of burnt me. T14 played really good last week, and 7,100 is a nice, again, value play. He's been playing some good golf. And then one guy kind of a little bit off the radar from what I've heard, because I haven't heard this guy much at all. Steven Yeager, 7K, feels like another nice plug-and-play value guy this week. Played him, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. He's on a nice little stretch back at the CJ Cup and at Quail Hollow. I think I like a little bit of Steven Yeager here as well.
Yeah, I can get on board with that. Good around the greens. Like with these small greens, that's my only concern with Sep. But I mean, he's been so good to me that I should probably overlook that. I mean, the guy just absolutely pounds fairways, good on approach. But if he's missing these small greens, that's basically my main concern with Sepp Straka. I will say, if you're like the ultimate contrarian player, I would identify myself as like I'm kind of a chalk donkey this year. I gotta look myself hard in the mirror because I've been playing a ton of chalk, trying to get different, but there's good chalk, there's bad chalk, and it's the margins are just razor thin right now on identifying good chalk, bad chalk, whatever. And so you can't hit on it all of the time. But man, in this range, Sep, these guys, like if you are the contrarian, you probably got to consider the Wyndham Clarks, the Max Homas. And I can't do it. Wyndham Clark's been so bad this year. I could probably play Max Homa. Definitely Max Homa over Wyndham Clark. Kind of torn on Shane Lowry. He's been playing good golf. I think just out of respect, I want to bring Big Fat Shane into the pool. Just good iron player. Feels like it should be a good course setup. T19 last year. I could see him improving on that. Then Adam Scott was the only other guy that I'm looking at, but I don't want to get too crazy with this range. I like the pool that we have. I love Denny McCarthy. I love Siwoo Kim. Zayden Out, I think, is fine. JT Poston. I get where both of you guys are at. Snyder kind of off of him. Uncle T on him. I'm going to leave him kind of right there. And then Akshay. Absolutely love him. He looked awesome last week. And I think he just carries that momentum into a course that should fit him pretty well. So I am on board with those. And then Taylor Penrith. I mean, Snyder loves the Canadians. I mean, Snyder, you've mentioned, I think, 3 or 4 Canadian golfers now. And I don't know, maybe trying to get on the Prez's good side. Who knows? Talking up all the Canadian golfers. But I am on Penrith as well. He's been playing awesome. Good price tag, $7,200. And Dietrich, I like that call as well. Nice German, awesome performance at the U.S. Open as well. Snyder, let's go back to you. Finish off with the 6K range. We're going to do the same approach as we did the 7K range.
Yeah, for me in the 6K range, there's one guy that I've been waiting to play. He finally got his tour card at the same spot that Ludwig Oberg got his tour card last year. Michael Thorbjornsen is a senior golfer at Stanford. He's a stud, number 1 ranked PGA U guy.
What's his last name?
Thorbjornsen.
Yeah. This is my favorite segment right here. One more time.
Michael Thorbjornsen.
That's close enough.
I love it.
But yeah, this kid is an absolute stud. This kid's a stick. He finished 4th here 2 years ago. He was tied with Xander going into, I think, the last 3 or 4 holes. Made a bogey late, ends up finishing T4. But he's got the confidence. He knows he can play with these guys. Last year, he came back and played this round. Was just a horrible short game first round from him. He shot 77 first round, lost 6.5 strokes with the short game, but battled back that next round. He shot 66 here. In 2022, he shot 68, 65, 66, 66 here. The dude can rack up a ton of birdies. He made 18 birdies at Dubai in January in the Dubai Desert Classic. He finished 11th in that event, beat Hatton, beat Fleetwood in that event. Rory won that event. So I really love the upside this kid's going to bring. I think he's going to hit the ground running. Maybe not as strong as Ludwig did, but I think he's going to be a guy we need to target down the stretch of the summer and into the fall swing for sure. So definitely high on Thorbjornsen this week. And then
it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to pass that. I mean, Snyder, you brought in the goods with this guy. I gave him a healthy bump. So keep going. I love that call. That's a fantastic call.
Yeah, I'm going to go right back to my guy, Pavan. We saw him kind of elevated at the start of the year. He was really strong for us. He was a soldier a couple times early in the year. He was a soldier for us at the Farmers that he got the win there at 100 to 1, 120 to 1, something like that. And he's been playing good. He played third at Pebble Beach the week after that. Had some strong finishes. He was 12th at the Masters, 5th last week. He had everything going last week. It was tee to green. Everything was just on point for him last week. Gained 14 strokes total last week. I think he's going to carry that momentum into this week as well. So I'm going to go right back to Pavon this week. And then another guy.
I mean, Snyder, he looked awesome in that final round. I was hesitant to play him in Showdown, and I love the price tag. And I mean, he paid off his price. Like he held his own in that final group. It was pretty impressive. I mean, how about him too? Not like finishing out. I thought that was pretty wild. Yeah. Like, why not just tap that putt in, dude? Give Bryson his moment.
Not to.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. But another guy I like here is Seamus Power down here. He's got good birdie upside. He's one of those guys, if you look at his game log, I mean, it's the definition of zigzag. Miscut last week, T27, miscut, T16, miscut, T12, miscut, T24. So he's been up and down for sure. Hopefully that stays going, and he keeps – I mean, he's definitely going to make the cut this week, but hopefully he can bring that upside that he's shown a few times this year. So I like Seamus. It's a really good upside play in this 6K range. I think Svensson will probably get some ownership as well. I don't know if I'll get to him, depending on where he comes in ownership-wise. He's 100 less than my guy Theo Borson. I don't think I'm – I mean, Webb is actually favored over Theo Borson in the matchup markets, but I'm not going to go there. No. I think Nick Dunlop's got a lot of upside here in 4 guaranteed rounds. He can make some birdies. But I think I'm just going to kind of hitch my wagon to those 3 guys mainly in the 6K range.
All right, very good. Uncle T, 6K range. What are you doing down here?
Yeah, a couple guys that interest me a little bit. Can't remember all the guys Snyder talked about, but Austin Eckroat, I don't know if you –
Hey, it was only 3. I think 3.
He left me 3? Or he mentioned
– No, he talked about 3.
Okay.
I mean, technically 5, but
yeah,
we'll call it.
I'll go kind of going from the top down. Guys like Mackenzie Hughes, he off back-to-back missed cuts, but he does have a little bit of success here at T3 and at T25. He is coming off the back-to-back MCs at the Memorial and U.S. Open, so not real high on him, but I could see a little flop lag, cheap price tag, 4 rounds. Austin Eckroat's a guy I've played quite a bit this year, and he played pretty good last week, but finished almost dead last with the bad weekend. I think he went 78 over the weekend. He played pretty good the first couple rounds and then kind of faded. I'm agreeing with Snyder on Pavon. Look, if he can't piggyback that, strong finish and good golf and all the confidence and stuff playing with Bryson in the final group, or not final group, final group. Yeah, I got him and Rory mixed up. I could see him piggybacking the nice finish, 6,800. Lucas Glover, not sure if you mentioned him. I like the glove here a little bit. I worry a little bit about making as many putts on this type of a course. His putter can kind of clearly not be the greatest. So I like him a little bit. Going down, I agree with you on Seamus Power. Svensson, I agree with you. Solid ball striker. If he can make putts, he would be a great value in this range if he can get hot with the putter. Lee Hodges is a guy I don't know if you mentioned. I've played him quite a bit as a value guy. I like him a little bit here. And then I'll mention one other guy, just because he seems to pop here and there. He's almost, mint price down there, 6,200, Davis Riley. He has a couple made cuts here, not the highest finishes, but a couple made cuts here. He won at he won in Houston, I believe, a couple weeks back. So, 6,200 Davis Riley. If he's your last guy in, I don't mind it.
Yeah, I like that. I think we have a pretty good pool
AP,
down
what
here.
about your guy Emiliano?
Grillo. Let me pull him up. I mean,
he was 215 last year. He looks decent. He was top 30 at the Memorial.
Yeah, top 30 Memorial, followed up at the U.S. Open. I mean, he's like a streaky guy, and you want to be on him when he's streaking in the right direction. So, yeah, I like that call. Let's put him in there, but let's not – I don't want to – in this range, I don't – like if we get aggressive with the projections down here, you're just going to get these crazy builds. We don't want that. We want these guys in the pool, but we don't want them like dictating our roster construction path. So we'll add them in. We're not going to get too aggressive with the projection. Just moderate bumps, kind of aligning them all up together because it's not like we want to go like 35-40% on any one of these guys. Now, I don't think anyone in between you guys want to do that. So let's run our stuff. Again, we're going to run it. We're going to crank up sim diversity. We're switching it up this week. We want to get a little bit different. No cut, obviously. Let's put our min salary in there, and we'll just do 25 lineups. We're going to look at our top. We'll look at our top 3, top 5 when we run this. We don't need a huge pool for this exercise, so let's cut this in half. While this is running, let's go over our winners. Snyder, let's start with you this week. Who do you got winning? Winning, and then a long shot for the people.
I'm gonna go to Ludwig here. I think Ludwig's gonna get the win this week. You can get him at 14-1. So I'm gonna go Ludwig for my favorite this week, and then for my longer shot, I really don't think anyone too deep is gonna win this event this week. But I don't mind jumping on. I don't mind some Harmon. I'll go Brian Harmon at 45-1 as my longer shot.
All right, get the little guy in there. That boy.
Yeah. I like it. It's a little guy. It's a little guy track. All right, Uncle T. All right, Uncle T. Who do you got winning this week?
Yeah, I love the Ludwig call. I really do. 12-1. I think. I don't think you're getting the best price there, just comparative to what you
get
could
a 14.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. Yeah, I love the call because I do think he's tuning up for a win. I think he finished runner up at. Wasn't he runner up at Pebble and then somewhere else he was runner up? So yeah, I like the Ludwig call, but I'm going back to my guy Hideki Matsuyama, 22-1. He won back at the Genesis for me when I had an outright for him. I think that was back in February. It's been a while, but he's been playing good golf. I could see him getting win number 2 on the year. So I'll go with Hideki, or Hideki as Snyder would call him, 22-1. And then going down the board a little bit, guy I think all 3 of us like, I'm going to go with Akshay. He had a win earlier in the year, and I think he could get it done here maybe as a longer shot. 70-1 down the board. So give me Akshay as my long shot. He won where? He won at the Valero.
Like
so,
Yep.
I got to be boring with mine, and this is almost done running. We'll hide that real quick. I'm going to be boring with mine. Patrick Cantlay, 20-1. Absolutely love it. Bad dresser. Weird pants, really boxy, needs a tailor. But Patrick Cantlay, 20-1, I think is a really good pick this week. Great course history. Looked awesome last week. Something that we don't say too often. And then, I mean, for the brand, I mean, why not? 40-1 on Justin Thomas. I mean, one more time. Now is the time. Isn't that what our guy Big T says? Now is the time. 40-1 Justin Thomas for the brand. Let's go over these builds. So we ran this. And usually what we've done for this exercise is we've sorted by projected score. Since we're manipulating the projections, this is more so due to what we previously did in shows that we did before, like last week and the week before. Since we're manipulating the projections, we want it to reflect. And so obviously it's going to bring up the highest projected lineups. I love the Saber score option. This is actually something that I use a lot for baseball right now, and I've just started using it also for golf. So you can just tailor and you can sort it by however big your contest is. So if it's 10 to 50,000 people, you can select that. If it's 1,000 to 10,000 people, you can select that. If it's more of like a single entry, 3 max, smaller type of contest, 100 to 1K. Let's go right in the middle, 1K to 10K. Let's we have it sorted by that. Let's still use our uniques. We just want to see a diversified kind of portfolio of builds. So let's use 3 min uniques there, and let's see what the highest exposure looks like. There you go. We got Akshay, Brian Harmon, Russell Henley, Patrick Cantlay. Hideki Matsuyama. I really like how that sets up. Siwoo Kim, all names that we absolutely love, tailored by or anchored by winning upside. Ludwig. Can't really call JT, winning upside, but you get the point. And then over here, you can see our top lineups. Akshay, Russ Henley, English, Harmon, Hideki, Cantlay. Really nice build. But again, chat, you guys were on point. You mentioned this. It's going to be, a balanced build type of week. Maybe playing the studs gets a little bit different. This build right here for me looks really nice, starting with Cantlay. Obviously, I like Cantlay. Here's our second build, Ludwig. There you go, 10K guy. Denny, Russ, Siwoo, Seth, Brian Harmon. And then our third build, Akshay, JT, Siwoo Kim, Russ Henley, Corey Connors, Cantlay. Not getting a lot of Scotty, not getting who else was up there? A lot of Xander, and getting a little bit of Ludwig. Obviously, we weren't overly aggressive with those projections, but Scotty still had by far the biggest projection in this field. So I do think this is somewhat telling to the type of performance Scotty's going to need to really pay off that price tag, 12.5K. Uncle T, any thoughts on these three builds? Or I guess final thoughts and then thoughts on these three builds.
Yeah, I mean, like always, I love doing this since we started doing it about a month ago. It talks about, again, how all three of us kind of thought about, the players in each of the sections and how we wanted to kind of build. And yeah, I really like all three of them. And again, I had myself at the beginning of the show. I told you I was going to take in stars and scrubs, but yeah, I mean, if you start with Ludwig or even go down and start with Morikawa or Cantlay even, and skip the whole 10K, I mean, you're going to get a really solid balanced build that you're going to feel strong about. So, so good luck. Yeah, good luck, everybody, this week. And, hopefully we'll see some names up at the top of the leaderboard. We can make some money this week.
Real quick, Snyder, before I get your thoughts, let's do this. Let's bring Scotty in there. I want to see what these builds kind of look like. So we put them in exposure of 25%. So the Scotty builds, you get Scotty, then you're living in the 7K range. Again, not a bad build. All the 7K guys, they get 4 rounds as well. So it could be more of a unique path, to be honest. I don't hate it. And it brings up kind of an interesting discussion point. Final thoughts on the week and the builds that popped up for us this week.
Yeah, I think I'm going to dip into the value a little more than those projections kind of put in there. I'm going to see what the Sims have to say too once we get those kind of up and running. I'm going to dip into the 6K range. So I like playing Akshay at 7,200. I really like Pendrith at 7,200 as well. So I'm going to be, I think, more of like a stars and scrubs type approach, but always look to see how the Sims kind of shake out too once they get updated and everything as well. But
there's your boy. Just for you. There's your boy. So
that's a strong team there. Burns, Henley, Aberg, upside right there. I mean, all three of those guys could potentially win the event, potentially. So I think that's a pretty solid build there. You got Morikawa, GAT, Ludwig right there. I think that's got some pretty serious. I think I may go Pendrith over Straka and then up on English on that build, but I think that's a pretty strong build there too.
I mean, if this guy, like, what's he going to be on? Like 2%?
Yeah, like nothing.
1 to 2%? I mean, if he comes through, then builds like this are going to be mint. Like Scotty, Hideki. I mean, this build right here. I mean, this build's going to be really, really different. The Grillo, your boy Scotty, Hideki. I mean, that's definitely interesting. So I don't know. I mean, it's full on debate here.
For the little $3.20 max, I may just lock Theo Bornson and like Seamus Power or something, and just get some wild builds in there, and hopefully then you can get exposure to all the studs. If those two values can somehow get in the top 20 or something, you have a ton of outs up top in the studs there.
All right, yeah, I definitely agree with that. All right, fellas, we are well over, which is perfectly fine. But again, if you haven't yet, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. We appreciate it a lot over here at Rumpier Sports. All the premium content is going to be up. Starting to work on it tonight. We'll be up tomorrow. We got the premium show tomorrow night. So if you're a member, make sure to catch that. We have a SaberSim package as well. Go over to Rumpier Sports, single sport. Let's just say all you want is golf. You can now get SaberSim. So use RPS 15% off your first payment. come check us out. Use this as a template to help you out. And I think we're going to set you up perfectly, hopefully perfectly. You Snyder's play. The 6K play this week is going to be really, really unique. I might have to like push myself to get a little bit different, so I'm just not like a mega chalk donkey over here like I have been. But I digress on that. Great show, fellas. For Snyder, for Uncle T, I'm AP. Good luck this week, and run Pier.